I couldn't shake the unease that had settled in my chest since that ominous white van appeared across the street. My quiet small-town neighborhood had never seen anything like it. The van was old, rusty, and seemed abandoned. Yet it sat there unmoving, a silent sentinel. One chilly evening, curiosity got the better of me and I decided to investigate. I peered out my window, feeling an eerie chill crawl down my spine as the van's windows remained dark, revealing nothing about its driver. The engine was silent, but a straying, suffocating aura lingered in the air. The next morning, as I walked outside to collect my mail, a fresh layer of frost covered everything. But something far more chilling awaited me. The van's driver's side door was open, revealing an empty interior, and there was a peculiar hole in the ground nearby, covered with a loose wooden board. It was the entrance to a forgotten crawl space that ran beneath my house. Dread washed over me like an icy wave, and my heart raced. Who had been in that van, and what were they doing under my house? I couldn't sleep that night, my mind filled with haunting possibilities. The following evening, I decided to set up a camera to capture any movement around the van. As darkness fell, the footage revealed something that sent shivers down my spine. A shadowy figure hidden in the van emerged and moved stealthily toward my house. It was their sinister intent that chilled me to my core. I watched in terror as the figure disappeared into the crawl space beneath my home, with a familiarity that suggested they had been there before. I knew I had to act. I called the police, and who arrived promptly and surrounded my house. Armed officers entered the crawl space, and moments later, they emerged, dragging out a man with wild, terrified eyes. The intruder was a stranger, a drifter, who had been living beneath my home. In a grim twist, he had carved a path from the crawl space into my house, intending to enter my life, unseen and unnoticed. He had been there for weeks, watching, waiting. As the police arrested the intruder, his gaze met mine. It was a stare that seemed to sear my soul, full of malevolence and madness. I couldn't help but wonder how close I had been to a tragedy. In the days that followed, I added extra security measures to my home, installed motion-activated lights, and ensured all crawl space entrances were sealed. The encounter had left me scared, but I had emerged stronger and more vigilant. The mysterious white van had vanished, and the neighborhood returned to its peaceful state. But the memory of that chilling night lingered, a reminder of the darkness that could lurk just beneath the surface of an ordinary life. In the end, I learned a crucial lesson. Vigilance and trust in your instincts are essential. It's easy to dismiss strange occurrences, but sometimes they're the warning signs of a lurking danger. My advice to you, dear listener, is never underestimate the power of intuition. If something feels off, investigate, protect your home, and always be prepared for the unexpected. For in the shadows, sometimes the most sinister horrors await. In the heart of the remote Arapaho National Forest, I sought solitude. My family's cabin, nestled amidst the towering pines, was my escape from the chaos of the world. But this time, tranquility would be a fleeting memory. As I settled into the rustic cabin, I inhaled the crisp mountain air and admired the panoramic view of the wilderness. The perfect place to immerse myself in the solace of nature, I thought. Little did I know that the forest had other plans. On the second evening, I heard laughter echoing through the trees. Puzzled, I ventured outside, my rifle in hand. The sight that greeted me was bewildering. A group of children, no older than 12, frolicked on my property. Their faces were painted with eerie smiles, as if the forest itself whispered dark secrets to them. Their laughter took an unsettling turn as they noticed me. Ignoring my stern warnings, they scattered into the woods, vanishing into the shadows. I shook my head, attributing their presence to youthful mischief. But night after night the children returned, their mischievous games growing more aggressive. They'd hide behind trees, peering at me with wide, unblinking eyes. Panic began to gnaw at my sanity. I called the authorities, but the forest's isolation made help a distant hope. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, I heard a soft tapping on the window. I inched closer, heart pounding. and there, smeared in crimson, was a message: "Get out!" The words dripped with menace, causing my blood to run cold. How had these children transformed from mischievous pranksters to something far more sinister? My sleepless nights were filled with their eerie laughter, mingling with the whispers of the trees. The forest seemed to conspire against me, as though it was hiding a dreadful secret. I couldn't escape the feeling that something ancient and malevolent lurked in the darkness. Desperation pushed me to the brink. I decided to confront these children, to demand answers or an end to their torment. With a flashlight and a pounding heart, I ventured into the forest, their laughter leading me deeper into its dark heart. But the deeper I went, the more it felt like I was stepping into another world, a world of shadows and echoes. The children's laughter became a cacophonous chorus, drowning my thoughts. I stumbled upon an ancient, decrepit tree, and there I saw them. The children, or what remained of them, were bound to the gnarled roots, their faces frozen in eternal terror, and in the heart of the tree, a grotesque figure, neither child nor man, grinned at me with razor-sharp teeth. It was the forest itself, an entity feeding on the fear it had sown. Terror surged through me as I realized my fate was sealed. The forest had made its choice, and I was to be its next victim. As its gnarled branches closed in, I knew escape was futile. The forest whispered a chilling warning. You were never alone here. And then, darkness. To the listener, I offer this advice. Beware the silence of the woods, for within it, ancient terrors may hide. When the laughter of the trees turns sinister, run, for in the wilderness, you may not be the hunter, but the hunted. I was just a 14-year-old high school student, excited about the prospect of being home alone for the weekend. My parents had gone on a much-needed getaway, leaving me in charge of the house. It was a chance for me to prove I could handle the responsibility. The first night was peaceful, and I felt a sense of independence like never before. But that changed on the second evening. As I settled in to watch a scary movie, I heard a faint rumble outside the window. A car was slowly approaching, its headlights piercing the darkness. Panic gripped me as I peered through the curtains. The car idled at the end of the driveway, its engine humming softly. I told myself it was probably just a lost driver, but something about the situation sent shivers down my spine. I retreated to my room, locked the door, and dialed 911. A calm voice on the other end said, "Stay on the line. We'll send a unit to check it out." Minutes dragged like hours as the dispatcher kept me company. I watched through the window as the car's driver door opened. A figure stepped out, cloaked in shadows. I couldn't make out their face, but their intention seemed sinister. The dispatcher asked me to describe the intruder. I strained to see more details. Suddenly, the figure moved towards the house, and I gasped. They were coming for me. The dispatcher urged me to hide in a closet and keep quiet. I followed her advice and tried to stifle my breathing as I clutched the phone. My heart pounded loudly in my ears, and my fear grew with each creaking step approaching my room. The intruder's footsteps halted just outside the closet. I held my breath, beads of sweat trickling down my temple. The door handle rattled as they tried to get in. Panic consumed me as I whispered to the dispatcher, "They're here." "Stay calm," she said, and I could hear the sirens in the distance. The intruder heard them too and fled the house just as the police arrived. Shaking and relieved, I met the officers at the door. They searched the vicinity but found no trace of the intruder. My ordeal left me with more questions than answers. Who was this person, and why had they targeted me? The next day, the police contacted my parents to share a chilling discovery. The license plate of the mysterious car traced back to a vehicle reported missing over a year ago. Its owner had vanished without a trace, and now it seemed they were stalking my house. The experience haunted me, and I couldn't help but wonder if there was something supernatural at play. I started to research the history of our home and discovered unsettling stories of a previous owner who had mysteriously disappeared. The truth was more horrifying than I could have ever imagined. The restless spirit of the former owner had been seeking revenge on those who dared to inhabit the house. My survival was a warning. Leave before it's too late. Now, I pass on this advice to you. Never underestimate the history of a house, for it might come back to haunt you. And always be cautious when you're home alone, because in the shadows, something may be waiting.